Hello, beautiful people. My name is Joe Royal, and I'm an instructor at Core Meditation. And today, on this beautiful day, I'm going to talk to you about processing grief. I know. I know. It's heavy, it's complex, it's layered. So get comfortable, grab some water. Let's talk about processing grief. Now, heads up, 7 Up. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience with grief. What is grief? In my experience, my personal experience, grief is processing a loss. A loss. If you've ever meditated with me at Core, I really like to just simplify everything. So when you find an emotion as heavy and complex and layered as grief, I like to simplify it. It's processing a loss. And what's wild about grief, especially right now, is we are all grieving. And you can be like, Joe, I don't agree. That's okay. You don't have to each his own, to each his own. But in this time of COVID-19, of unknown, we are all grieving what our lives used to be. Restaurants. I know for me, I'm grieving group fitness. Oh my gosh, I miss it so much. The way we used to interact at work, the way we used to work, we're grieving so many things. And so my hope for you today is that you start to ignite your process with grief. So when we get to our new normal, however that is going to look, and at this point, who knows, but that you're walking in a space of gratitude, and that nothing is locked up or tense. Now, I have found in my processes with grief that when you choose not to process, which is A-okay, but it will show up in every and anything. Like, I have found grief showing up in social interactions, in my inner monologue, in my day-to-day at work. For example, a couple weeks ago, I was on a social distance walk with some of my closest friends, and we were walking, and I was saying, these are the things in quarantine that I'm really struggling with. And my friend said, okay, Joe, but it really sounds like you miss your dad. And for those of you that don't know, I mean, most of you probably don't, I lost my dad a couple months ago. Even saying that, my chest just starts to feel heavy. And I went, wow, okay, it's time to ignite my process, get that process going, just to feel it and let it out. So I've lost my dad, and that was so challenging. We lose people, it's a part of life, but it's not easy. It's icky and sticky and weird. Whenever I'm grieving, whether it's a person or a thing, there's one sentence that just replays in my mind, and I wonder if you've had this experience. This doesn't make sense. I remember when I got the call from my dad, my mom had texted me and she said, Joe Bear, that's what my mom calls me. Okay. Our parents have nicknames for us. You know, we just let it happen. And I pulled to the side of the road, and she said, pull to the side of the road. So I pulled to the side of the road, and she said, your father passed away. And I just screamed, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Oh, man, even just saying that out loud, it's like, this doesn't make sense. And that might be something that you're saying right now in this state of unknown of COVID-19, like, this doesn't make sense. And that's okay. However we respond to grief, it's normal, it's natural, there's no right or wrong. So I'm just going to explore with you 2 ways I've really ignited my process with grief. The first being, I bet you'll never guess, meditation station. Love a little song, a little jingle. Before losing my father, I had another loss. And I'm not sharing this with sympathy. I'm really sharing this to inspire. And I lost my best friend. It was so random and wild. It didn't make sense. And from that loss, I spent a lot of time just like putting that grief on a bookshelf and never opening that book or never taking it off the bookshelf. And it just surfaced in so many different ways. And when I found meditation, it was the first time I felt like my mind and body came out of fight or flight. If you're like, Joel, what's fight or flight? That's fair. That's a fair question. Also, I do voices and accents. That's just who I am. Just let it happen. Fight or flight is your mind and your body trying to protect you. So when you're going through something as layered, complex, as big as grief, it's so natural for your mind and body to go into fight or flight where you almost feel tense. With every step you make, you feel tense. And this doesn't just happen with grief, it happens with any complex emotion or stress or challenge, because our minds, our bodies, they just want to protect us. And when I started meditating, it was the first time my mind and body came out of fight or flight, and I found my parasympathetic nervous system, which is when you are calm. And when I found that calm state, it was like the floodgates opened up and I started to grieve. My process began. And for me, I consider the process of grief beginning once we acknowledge it and start feeling it. And it was wild. And when my dad passed, the first thing I did was like, I need to meditate or try. And it was hard. It took a couple of weeks before I could really sit and meditate. And wow, has it helped me. And meditation too, there's layers to meditation, right? There's breathing in our own natural rhythms of inhale, exhale. There's breath work. There's different kinds of breath work, right? There's box breath, there's vent, there's coffee. These are breath works that you're going to be familiar with, if you meditate with us at Core, which I hope you do. It's wonderful. Another thing that really helped ignite my process was community. So community is big as well. Community is the people you're bringing into your circle, the people that you're bringing into your journey of life. So friends, family, for me, a therapist, my fitness instructors, people that really lift me up when things are rough. And that's what I hope your community is for you. And if it isn't, I believe that you can find that if you're open to it. If you need any advice, you're so welcome to reach out to Core, to reach out to me on my personal channels on social media, which are Joyous Joseph, extra E, don't forget. But community, getting into therapy was, this might be a dramatic word, but like groundbreaking. So getting into therapy and bringing a therapist into my community allowed me to start talking it out, and continuing the process and feeling and grieving and all of the things. So as we're talking, as we're exploring, as we're getting to know each other, really thinking about how meditation could help you in your process, how community could help you. In the next vid, I'm going to guide you in a meditation with a little bit of breath work to really start unlocking your parasympathetic nervous system and getting you out of fight or flight, and releasing any attention. And maybe this for you, well, this will be the first time you start to process your grief, and that's so wonderful and so great. And maybe you've been processing your grief and maybe you look at it differently than I do. Wonderful. We're just going to feel and we're going to release together. And I hope this inspires you, and that when we get out of whatever it is that we're going through, that we walk in a space of gratitude. All the love, and I will see you in the next vid for a guided meditation.